Underneath the floor of a building was just an endless void. I thought people who replaced floors were incredibly brave, so I always told my parents I wanted to replace floors. For a year or so I wanted to be a tax collector. I saw one in a Pink Panther cartoon and thought they were just people who knocked on your door and kept all the money you paid them. This is adorable. I thought having a job was just you picking a company you like, waltz in, find an empty spot and start doing something. I had no concept of interviews, tests and all the paperwork involved. To be fair, some of the older generation act like that's the way it is when giving advice. My mom always told me that if I got lost or separated from her while out in public and couldn't find a police officer, I should seek out the nearest woman with children. Her reasoning was obviously that another mother would be a good kind of stranger to talk to, much more likely to help and less likely to harm a lost child. My reasoning, however, was that if I somehow never found my own mom again, I could and would just go home with the woman and have new siblings to play with so I wouldn't get lonely. All that you needed to do to get pregnant was get married. I thought a potluck was where everyone brought food to a party and put it all in one giant pot. Then you would scoop out a plateful and whatever you got was your luck. Edit, thank you for the award. My first one. If you missed an exit on the highway you would basically end up in a different state. Judging by the way people cut across 4 lanes of traffic rather than spend a few extra minutes turning around at the next exit, I feel like there are some adults that still think this is true. I thought that if I tilted my head to one side for a picture, it made me look sexy. God knows what I thought sexy meant back then, but it was only something naughty girls did. So I would wait until right before the pic was taken, and then quickly tilt my head right as the shutter went off. I am imagining a school-aged girl, all nicely dressed up, violently twitching her head for the cameraman on school picture day, and I genuinely laughed. Thanks. All your childhood photos. Motion blurred. But only around the head. For whatever reason I always thought lines were just unripe lemons. When I was in my early 20s I went to buy a lemon tree and was so confused to see they had lime and lemon trees. I feel like an idiot every time I think of it. This lime/lemon thing is especially confusing for non-native English speakers. Where I live limes and lemons are just 2 different types of lemon. Edit, did a quick search, and scientifically speaking turns out they are 2 different species of the citrus genus. A lemon yellow is Citrus lemon. A lime green is Citrus latifolia. Funny story. I had a lemon tree once that started producing limes. I didn't think much of it. I did give the limes away to friends and use them in cooking myself. Eventually I found out the lemon tree had a disease and they were lemons that would never ripen. Down syndrome was when you were really sad. I thought you could say something like looks like you got a case of Down syndrome to your crying friend. That would make for a funny sitcom episode. Kid walks up to his dad and goes, "What's Down syndrome?" The dad, not wanting to take the time to explain properly, goes, "It's when you were feeling really down." The kid goes to school the next day and sees someone crying in the corner and goes up to them and says, "Looks like you've got a bad case of Down syndrome," making the kid cry even harder. My parents weren't raised in the US, but they tried to make sure my siblings and I got the whole American experience, so they tried introducing us to Christmas and even sent us to Christian summer camps. For some reason, this caused a sort of confusion in my mind and I thought Santa was God, and I was never corrected because my parents didn't understand Christianity or Christmas. That there was absolutely no way I'd ever get to be as old as the adults in my life. For some reason it seemed more likely to me that I could become a dog than that I could age into even a 15-year-old. That not everyone has a sister. I was certain that everyone had a sister like me, and when I went to a friend's house to sleep over I was dumbfounded that his sister wasn't there. His parents ended up showing me a picture of some random kid and told me that was my friend's sister just to shut me up. That is a great way to end it. Not trying to convince a kid, but just showing some random girl. The trees made wind. Trees would move and their movement makes the wind. I honestly love that I used to believe this, it's so innocent. Also, that if you saw the clouds move it was actually the world spinning. As in the clouds would stay still and world was turning.